Okay, everyone. So now that you've got an understanding of these different color harmonies, I'm going to ask you to do a little kind of abstract art and graphic design project this week where you're going to put those color harmonies to use and then make some decisions about color based on that learning. So what you're going to do essentially is take the letters of your initials and the angles and vertical and horizontal and intersecting and curving lines that make up each letter, thinking of them more in terms of their shape than in terms of them being actual letters, and put them together to create kind of an abstract art composition. There's going to be a little brainstorming involved building up to this as well. So the first thing you need to do is take your sketchbook and divide a page in your sketchbook into 4 equal parts, into quarters. So if you have a straight edge, great. Make a line right down the middle of the page and then a line across the page so that you get 4 equal parts like that. Then the next thing you'll want to do is in one of those 4 parts, take those letters or those angles and lines and curves of those letters and build a design of shapes into one of those 4 rectangles based on those letters. So I'm going to give one a shot, just the first shot in one of the rectangles here. My initials are Anthony Andrew Campbell, so it's AAC. See how this comes out. So here's what I did when I put that AAC together. Okay, you can see it. I got rid of the opening in the A. I just thought of the A as these kind of like mountainous triangles here, and I let them go ahead and overlap, and then that curving C is disappearing behind it. So you want to think about filling the whole rectangle, letting things overlap and intertwine so that you get these just different shapes that you're later going to fill in with color. So the reason you have 4 spots on the pad is I want you to go ahead and now try 4 different ways of using your initials. So you're essentially going to make 4 different little designs here. So let me set about experimenting. And you might use lowercase versions of your letters in one and uppercase in another, or both, or if there's a letter in your initials that you really just despise, like leave it out and just use 2 initials. Or if you just really like the T for your first name, Tommy, just play with lots of T's. But you're really just out to create an interesting conceptual abstract design here. So I'm going to do 3 other versions of my AAC on the page here now. So now here are my 4 different AAC designs in those 4 spaces. There's the first one that I showed you. Here's this other one. It's a little darker. I'll tell you why it's darker in a minute. I did a smaller and then a larger triangular A, and then that C is almost like a sun behind the mountain there. Here's another one in the corner. I went with lowercase a's and made that one really much more curly and much less linear than the others. And here's another. I had the A's running right off the page and what would be the C shape tucked in between. Whether or not you can even make out the initials anymore isn't the idea here. It's more just to create that design. Once you've done 4 different ones, I want you to choose the one that you like the most and go over that one with a pen so that it becomes really clear. You might even take a straight edge there and tighten it up a little bit so that you have one that you're going to end up choosing. And when I say choosing, you'll see in a minute why that's really important. So now we're going to set up the composition that you're actually going to paint in with different color schemes, and you're going to base this composition on the one that you chose that you like the most. So the first thing you're going to need to do is take another page in your sketchbook and divide that up again into 4 quadrants. Then we're going to take that one that you were really happy with. In my case, it was this one here. Okay? And then you're going to put that one into the first box and then repeat it in the other 4 boxes, but you might end up tweaking it a little bit each time. Or you might end up just copying it exactly the same all 4 times. It's up to you. the way I did it was I copied that one that I liked the most, just the way I saw it the first time. And then I just changed it a little bit in the next one. I made the inside triangles a little bigger, and I made the C at a funny angle. And then as I went down to the bottom, I made them a little steeper and made the inside triangles a little smaller and almost turned the C upside down. And then over here, I made the inside triangles much bigger and collapsed the C a little bit. So you've got the one design you're really happy with, and then you're kind of riffing off of that and doing 4 little variants on it, okay? And that is your composition that's set up. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to paint in or color in with whatever you've got. Try to use the same material throughout. So if you're going with markers, use markers. If you're going with watercolors, use watercolors, colored pencil. I'm gonna paint in each one with one of the different color schemes that you did on this study page. So the first one, I might paint in with an analogous color scheme. The next one with a triadic color scheme. The next one with split complements. And the last one with either warm or cool. Okay, so I'm gonna sit down and work on that, and I'll show you how. Okay, so I went ahead and painted in my first one. I decided to go with the analogous color scheme for that first quadrant there, okay? Analogous colors are those colors that are close to each other on the color wheel, so I kind of went in that kind of warm area of the color wheel. You'll find that the difference between warm, cool, and analogous is kind of arbitrary. It depends on if you cross over into things that are blue. I didn't. So I've got kind of an orange and a red-orange and this kind of magenta, which would be like a red violet. You can imagine them, how those would be close to each other on the color wheel. So that's my analogous. So I'm gonna go in, head in, choose a different color scheme for each one, and go ahead and paint them all in. And I'll show you how that comes out. Next one, I'll probably do a color triad, red, yellow, and blue. And for the one after, I'll choose a split complement color scheme. And for the last one, I'll either do something warm or cool. And I'll show you how that comes out. Okay, so I've gone ahead and finished up the rest of my boxes here in my little color study composition. I had that first one there with the analogous colors. Then I moved over and I worked with the color triad. I went with the primary color triad there, the yellow, red, and blue. Then I moved down here and did a split complement. I'm a real sucker for yellow. I love the color yellow, and I love violet. So I went with my yellow as my starting color, and then I went across to violet, and I used this magenta red violet, and then I mixed up a little blue and violet to get this purple violet, blue purple, and that's my split complement there, yellow, and then tertiaries on either side of the complement. And then in this one, I want you to go either warm or cool. I went cool, as you can see, all variations on blue. Since I had done this really kind of warm analogous situation over here, I thought I would do something cool in the other corner to kind of balance out the warm and cool on the whole page. So things that you should think about when you're filling these in, there shouldn't be any white of the page. Okay, when you put those shapes on there that are based on your initials, you're creating new trapped shapes, and you're going to fill in all of those trapped shapes. So all of the white of the page, the negative space, becomes a shape that can be filled in with color. So all around here, we're dealing with shape, you know, where we just were, and filling in those shapes. As a result of working on this project, you've gain some mastery of whatever color medium you're using. In my case, it was using this gouache paint that I found downstairs, this kind of watercolor gouache. And I learned a lot about the way the gouaches behave on paper in working with it over the course of this project. Whether you're working with colored pencil or marker or crayon or whatever color medium you have there, working on a project like this and really going in and carefully filling in those shapes is gonna help your use of that material. We're deepening our understanding of color and color relationships, and really coming to an understanding of using a limited color palette and certain ways that you can plan your limited color palette, whether it's creating an analogous kind of monochromatic palette or split complements, etc. Okay, so this is a pretty involved project. It should take you really the rest of the week. I want you to take your time on it. This took me a long time to do. You want to really take each one of your quadrants and fill it in and approach it with the same kind of effort that you would the one before. I wouldn't necessarily recommend sitting down and trying to do this whole thing at once. Between watching the video and things, it'll take you hours. So maybe get it started, plan your design, paint in one of the quadrants, go away from it a little bit, or color in one of the quadrants, go away from it, come back to it and fill it in. So this will take you really the rest of the week. Next week we're going to be combining our understanding of color and our inspiration projects and our observational drawing, or now our new understanding of doing abstract design, and come up with a composition each on our own. But that'll be next week. For this week, finish this up. I'll set something out Friday about looking to have you submit this stuff, and I'll be in touch about any work that's been missing along the way. Okay, so have fun with this. Feel free to email me with any questions, or if you finish up and you just want to, a lot of people have just been sending me images of what they've been doing. I'd love to see that. I'll be looking forward to those emails. Okay, everybody? Be safe.